The early 2000s, a time of stupid card games, ghost shows, flash animations, and of course, Nintendo's best-selling console, the Nintendo DS. Well, this is a 3DS, I don't have an original DS, but you get the point. I've got so many good memories with this thing, it's sad that it barely works anymore.
It's weird, because I've always been really careful with it.
The outer-facing camera doesn't work, the charging port is iffy, I lost the stylus, the 3D won't turn off, but it does still play games, most of the time, and that's what matters.
Oh, and there are plenty of games to play on this thing. The original DS has a library of over 1,700 games, of which about 1,600 are total shovelware garbage.
But there are still so many good games on this system. New Super Mario Bros., Brain Age, Mario Kart DS, Adventure Time, Hey Ice King, Why'd You Steal Our Garbage, SpongeBob Drawn to Life.
Well, I don't know about that one, but the DS has got plenty of great games to keep you busy during a road trip or something. And in my opinion, no game does that better than the system's launch title, Super Mario 64 DS.
You know, it's always a good sign when a system's launch title is a remaster. I'm sure people got so hyped when they heard that the Mario launch title for the DS was just that stinky old N64 game they already played 8 years ago.
8 years feels like the perfectly wrong amount of time to wait. It's not really long enough to be nostalgic, and just long enough to be completely irrelevant.
Well, actually, the game sold quite well, and it's really more of a remake than a remaster, since it adds and changes so much content.
There are tons of new stars, several new characters, graphics are nicer in most areas, and of course, the most important addition, the mini-games.
Man, these things are great. You gotta sort the bombs and draw the lines and solve the puzzles. These are so much fun.
For about 15 seconds. They're the kinds of games you play in a dentist waiting room. Like, you don't really have enough time to get a star, so you decide instead to sit there like an idiot trying to line up Mario faces.
Many people claim that these mini-games are directly ripped from New Super Mario Bros., but actually Super Mario 64 DS came out 2 years earlier, so it's really the other way around.
These mini-games are the unsung savior of momentary boredom, which isn't much, but it's something. I feel like I need to give these little mini-games the spotlight that they deserve, because from what I remember, these were basically perfect. I'm sure there aren't a bunch of atrocities that I forgot about.
First off, we have nothing, because you need to go around collecting all the Rec Room keys to slowly unlock the minigames. There's a bunch of bunnies running around the castle that each have keys to minigames. Each character has their own bunnies that unlock minigames in their category.
This sorta sucks, but it gives you a neat little incentive to progress the actual video game that these minigames are a part of.
Alright, now that that's finished, let's go check out Yoshi's minigames, the first of which is called Wanted. This is a certified waiting room classic. Basically, you get a character up top that's wanted for some horrific, unspeakable crime. Then you've got to pick below who you want to incarcerate. Choose the wrong one and you'll wrongfully imprison an innocent man for decades, taking away 10 seconds from your timer. Pick correctly and the criminal will spend the rest of his days paying for his inhumane deeds, netting you a few seconds. If the timer reaches 0, you lose. So you pretty much just click the guy that it shows on the top screen, except they hide him and make it really unfair. Not that that's a problem though, since it's so easy to stay ahead on time.
This is more of a marathon game than anything. Getting a high score just takes willpower as opposed to skill.
But even though you'll never lose, it's pretty fun to just sit there and click faces without really thinking.
Where is he? Oh. Yep. Oh yeah, I see him. Ah, he got away. Great. Oh my gosh, I almost ran out of time.
Next up, we've got a game called Loves Me. Wow.
This might be the most depressing thing that can happen on 2 screens.
Pick the pedals to decide your fate. That's it.
The worst part is, you can just count if the pedals are even or odd and know what it's gonna end on.
And what's up with that losing sound? But if you're deranged enough to keep playing this game for a few rounds, strange things will begin to happen. You'll get flowers with way too many petals, or not quite enough. Or this will happen.
Oh.
Overall, this game is weird and sad, and I don't think it's a game. It's just a fancy way of flipping a coin.
Well, let's move on to the next one.
Hide and Boo Seek. I don't like this one. You pretty much watch these ghosts in this room, and then the lights go out. You have to draw where you think they are, which isn't that hard since you just now saw them. But it barely gives you 3 seconds to do it, so yeah, it's difficult, but not really fun at all. Like, here, solve this maze. Time's up. Wow, you're so dumb. You couldn't even solve this easy peasy baby maze.
This just seems somehow way too easy and completely unfair at the same time.
I thought maybe it would get better the further I went along, but unfortunately, no it didn't.
I guess it's still better than the last one, since this one's a game, but it's still not very fun.
Next is Puzzle Panel. My first reaction to this when I launched it again was, this is one of those brain things where I have to think. But then I realized that it's actually the funnest minigame yet. The goal is to make the bottom board look like the top one. You do this by flipping sections of tiles. Clicking a tile flips it as well as any adjacent tiles. So if you click one of these middle ones, you're flipping 9 tiles, but if you click a corner one, you're only flipping 4.
I'm probably making this sound super complicated, but it's simple when you get the hang of it. I found myself really enjoying this game. I would actually just sit there and solve these stupid little puzzles even if I wasn't in a waiting room.
Because these two need to flip and these two need to stay, which means I need to do like this and this, right? But then these need to... Oh, I need to flip this. And then this. I think it's this and this, unless I already tried that. Yep, looks the same to me.
In my book, this is the perfect minigame.
Now that's some tough competition. How could this next one be any better? Well, not being the minigame boombox would be a good start. Sadly, this next one is the minigame boombox.
Boombox is a game in which you listen to sounds that come out of boxes, and then click the 2 boxes that made the same sound.
Okay, so it's a memory game. That's pretty lame.
But it's worse than just a memory game. It's a memory game with this sound in it.
Oh, that hurts.
And you need to know the difference between that sound and this one. The only good thing about this game is the cool little renders of Yoshi at the beach. That and Mario absolutely freaking out the entire time on the top screen. Alright, moving on to the next Yoshi game, Toxbox Shuffle. This at first appears to be a neat little game where you keep an eye on the box with Yoshi under it while it's shuffled around by some unseen force that I can only assume is Mario up here. But everybody's gangsta until Mario puts 2 Yoshis under there and starts going Hitler mode.
See, that's like Hitler-ish.
This is best played with 3 people, one to watch Green Yoshi, one to watch Blue Yoshi, and one to watch Mario to make sure he doesn't do anything while you're not looking.
This game can be fun, but I'm not brave enough to even try past round 3.
Oh, and fun fact, you can see the 4 pillars and the pyramid of shifting sandland in the background. Pretty cool. Witch Wiggler is the name of the next game, and it's alright. In Witch Wiggler, you've got to find the Wiggler on the bottom screen that looks the same as the one on the top screen.
So it's kinda like a harder but more fair version of Wanted.
But no, this one isn't fair either, because the Wiggler's head blocks the first segment, so you basically just have to guess what's there. And then things go crazy and the Wigglers start running around and stuff.
This one brings more intensity than the Wanted minigame, but I honestly don't really care for it.
Next is Mix-a-Mug, which is probably why I have to wear glasses now. I hate this game mode so much, not because it's a totally unfun matching game, but because it makes my eyes hurt really bad.
I played this game to review it for only about 2 minutes the other day, and I'm not even joking, I couldn't keep my eyes still for the next several days.
I'm not saying that this stupid insufferable little minigame ruined my vision for a matter of 48 hours, but I am warning you to never play it if you want your eyeballs to work normally. After that optic assault comes the next minigame, Puzzle Panic. This is pretty much Puzzle Panel, but harder. The board is bigger, so you've got to do even more thinking. I'm not sure that this is strictly better or worse than Puzzle Panel, but it's a nice option if you want something more difficult.
Well, looks like that's all the Yoshi minigames. Not sure what most of this had to do with Yoshi, but whatever, they seem pretty cool.
Now let's check out the Mario minigames. The first one is called Mario's Slides. Sounds fun.
But it's like they say, never judge a book by its cover, because this one's pure evil.
The objective at first is simple. Get Mario to the star. Draw a line, and he'll take it. Boom, he got the star. But now he's gonna go down again, from a different spot, and that line you drew might not work in your favor this time around. This game is all about regret, making you feel stupid about your decisions.
It keeps you constantly second-guessing yourself. It's messed up, man.
My strategy is just to fill the whole thing with lines and hope for the best. The next minigame is called Bounce and Pounce.
Bounce and pounce. This one's good. Oh, man. This one's too good.
As you can probably tell, this one didn't emulate quite right, so I'll just be showing actual DS footage of these glitchy 3D Mario minigames. At first, this one's terrifying. Mario's falling out of the sky and he needs to perfectly bounce off of these Shy Guys to kill them. You can tap him to make him jump if it doesn't look like he's gonna land on a Shy Guy. Oh, and there's 3 Marios you need to keep track of. As you go along, the levels get progressively more difficult. But once you get the panic of keeping these free-falling maniacs under control, it's super easy.
This basically turns into an endurance game like Wanted, although a little more difficult, I would say. Overall, I like this one. It's good fun.
Next is an absolute classic, Sort or Splode.
Not exactly a great array of options.
It's simple. Sort the 2 types of bombs before they blow up and make you freak out in front of everybody else waiting to get their cavities filled. This might look like it isn't that hard, and it really isn't, until you get 5 seconds in and it starts throwing 1,000 bombs out and you've got to remember which ones have been out the longest and are thus the highest priorities to sort. And then you try to put it in, but like, let go too early, and it's just the most stressful thing ever.
But that's not to say it isn't fun. This is a great way to waste a few minutes.
The next minigame is called Trampoline Time, which is where you draw trampolines on the bottom screen to help Mario get to the other side. This game makes good use of the stylus, but I still think it's pretty lame. You're supposed to direct Mario by angling the trampolines and varying their size, but it seems like you're just drawing trampolines until Mario decides to go in the right direction. The background is pretty cool though. I think these minigames deserve some credit just for the neat artwork. Next, let's check out Shuffle Shell. In Shuffle Shell, you shuffle a shell, and that's seriously all. Send it, try to get it on target, get points, that's it. There isn't much depth to this, it's really just about technique rather than strategy.
Not my idea of waiting room fun, but it doesn't cause eye damage, so it gets points for that.
Moving on, we have Bounce and Trounce, which is like Bounce and Pounce, except with 100% more trouncing. This is like an endless version of Bounce and Pounce. That sounds like it would make things more hectic, but it actually makes it way easier. All you need to do in Bounce and Trounce is keep 3 Marios from dying. You don't actually need to kill any specific Shy Guys, which means you can keep the Marios on the top screen at all times without ever risking anything. This is about as easy and enjoyable as wanted.
Not much strategy, and it doesn't demand a huge amount of skill, but it's still pretty fun.
Then we have Connect the Characters, which is like Mario's Slides, but more strategy based. See, in this one they actually give you time to plan things out before the heads start flying down the tracks, but there's a reason for that. In Connect the Characters, you've got to get all 4 heads to the right bodies, which is not easy, because your tracks you made before stay through rounds, so again, it leaves you really doubting yourself every time you draw paths.
This isn't really my kind of puzzle game, but it seems more fair than the other Mario Slide game.
Plus, these little toy renders are super cool. Nearing the end of the Mario minigames, we have Shell Smash. Shell Smash is just as barbaric as it sounds. It's like Shuffle Shell, but instead of trying to precisely land a shell on target, you fling shells into a big pile of more shells and watch them clink around.
Sometimes you get a lot of points, sometimes you don't. There isn't really anything to it.
This is fun to look at, I'll give it that. It might help relieve some anxiety over the impending dental repairs.
And finally we have Trampoline Terror, which I actually don't remember, so let me go play it again.
Okay, so Trampoline Terror is like Trampoline Time, but with rings. I like this better, I think it just makes more sense. It's still pretty easy though, you just draw trampolines under Mario and you'll eventually win.
Well, that's all of the Mario minigames. Most of them broke my emulator, but that's just because they look so darn cool.
Next, let's check out Wario's minigames. Wario starts things off strong with Bomb Squad. This is like Space Invaders, but instead you're shooting down paratrooping bob-ombs so they don't destroy any flowers. You can also shoot this Lakitu to destroy all the bob-ombs on screen.
This is one of those minigames that becomes completely unmanageable very quickly.
This one's a blast though, one of my favorites for sure. Next is Snowball Slalom, one of my least favorites for sure.
I mean, what the heck is a slalom? They're just making stuff up now.
In Snowball Slalom, you use the stylus to roll and slam into a bunch of rocks and get super frustrated and throw your DS at whoever you see first.
Well, apparently a slalom is a ski race down a winding course marked by flags or poles. Funny how it doesn't mention the giant rocks that present a massive hazard to the general well-being of the racers.
The point of this game is to get to the end as quickly as possible, but I really don't enjoy it.
Next up is Pachinko. Oh, Bingo Ball, because it's not gambling if you're also playing bingo. But Your Honor, I was playing bingo.
You could say that Pachinko takes skill since you can control how hard you hit the ball. And yeah, that's sort of fair, although you can't really be precise enough to hit the right number every time without some kind of cheats. I usually employ my secret fire all of them and let things be as they will technique. There isn't much more to say about this. Send the ball and hope you get the right number for a bingo. The next minigame is called Coincentration. It starts off by showing Wario send a bunch of coins down to the bottom screen. Then they fall into place, and it's now up to you to decide which blocks have coins in them. If you pick a block that doesn't have any coins, you lose. You know, they should really call this one coincidence, since no amount of concentration will allow you to accurately pick which bricks have coins and which ones don't.
Not a fan of these kinds of mini games. Let's move on.
Psych Out.
Dang it.
This is a game where you guess what card is on the top screen. Sometimes you can just barely see what's on the other side, and others it's completely blank.
The technique seems to be to pick the card that hasn't been shown in a while, since it won't show 2 of the same card back to back.
This game freaks me out. The music, the setting, the symbol of the card eerily peeking through, it's just strange.
Well, let's hope the next game mode isn't so luck-based.
Slot Shots.
It's pachinko with a slot machine in the middle.
Next is Lakitu Launch, which is sort of like Bomb Squad, but not really at all. You've got to shoot these spiky red shells up into the big green shells that the Lakitus are holding. And there isn't much else to it.
There isn't anything wrong with this one, but I do wish it had a little more depth.
Alright, now for intense concentration. I really tried to figure out how this is different from normal concentration. I think there might be less coins, but I have no clue, it seems the same. And lastly, we've got Giant Snowball Slalom. This is like Snowball Slalom, but way longer, and with penguins.
Well, that's it for the Wario minigames. Some of those were pretty good.
Now we're moving on to the final category, the Luigi Minigames, starting with Memory Match. This is basically like Boombox, but without those awful sounds, so it's just a boring memory game. Up on the top screen, however, we have a pretty cool scene of a casino that Luigi apparently works at. Oh, and Toad too, who appears to be delivering...
alcohol. It's alcohol.
The next minigame is called Pair A Gone, which is another matching game. But this one isn't about memory. Instead, you've got to match the adjacent pairs until all the cards are gone. I'm not sure what the strategy is for this, but if you don't do it right, you'll be stuck with a few cards that can't be matched, and you'll lose.
Again, this minigame takes place in Luigi's Den of Greed.
Then we have Picture Poker, which is like poker, but with pictures, I guess. At first I didn't get it, but once I figured it out, I sat there for like 30 minutes straight, racking up money.
For a Luigi minigame, this one's pretty fun.
Next up is Mushroom Roulette.
It's gambling again.
So in this game, you bet your hard-earned coins and hope that you win enough back to pay your dealer by next Wednesday so you can keep your kneecaps. And if you're looking for an even sadder way to burn through your savings, there's the next minigame, Mario Slot.
Boom. Bet, bet, bet. College? What for?
I know this looks dire, I've only got one coin to my name, but don't worry, I'm gonna win this one.
Alright, let's continue funding Luigi's multi-million-dollar underground crime syndicate by playing the next game, Lucky Stars. Here you pick the card with more stars to win money.
Rock Bottom, that's a better name, Rock Bottom.
The next minigame is called Pair A Gone and On, which is just an endless version of Pair A Gone.
I don't like this one because I can't gamble away my life savings.
I'm not really sure what the point is, but it seems fun enough to just sit there and click away at like Wanted. Except when you play Wanted, you don't need to worry about Luigi stealing your kidney and leaving you for dead in the deserts of Nevada. And finally, Memory Master. This is like the other Luigi one, but I don't know, it's more difficult or something.
I'm honestly surprised that Nintendo got away with as many gambling minigames as they did.
It seems like a bad move to brand Luigi as the casino guy. It makes him seem like a shady, low-life, drug-dealing criminal mastermind. Oh, and apparently there's another minigame called Super Mario Slot that only unlocks after you get all 150 stars, but I don't really care. It's probably just Mario Slot, but even sadder.
What an ending. All things considered, most of these games were pretty awesome.
There's enough variety so that everybody has something to do in the waiting room, from psychics to mob bosses.
And that's what it's all about. Sure, I might not enjoy every one of these, but I'm not the only one in need of dental maintenance either. We've all got to sit in that waiting room every once in a while, and thanks to this little game, that time is slightly more tolerable.
But among these minigames, my favorites have got to be Puzzle Panel, Sort or Splode, and Bob-omb Squad. These minigames were part of my childhood, so no matter how shallow they may seem, I'll always love the cool little renders and sprites and sound effects they use.
Anyways, I hope this video was enjoyable. Maybe you got to reminisce with me over some of these minigames, or maybe you've never even played them. Either way, I really appreciate you watching. Thanks.